What if I told you that the truly chosen ones don't play games? Not because they don't know how to play, but because they have already lost too much trying to understand rules that were not made for their hearts. They don't text you just to test if you miss them. They don't disappear to see if you run after them. They don't pretend to be disinterested to appear more valuable. Do you know why? Because the chosen ones want more. They want something you may have forgotten exists. Depth, presence, meaning. While the world revolves around quick responses, messages viewed and not answered, hearts too busy to feel, the chosen ones keep waiting. They keep believing, not out of naivety but out of intuition. They know that playing is a way to escape, that games mask fear, and that fear only grows when we decide to love with armor. The chosen ones, those who truly love, do not want victories of ego. They want encounters of the soul. They prefer the painful silence of a true absence to the empty noise of a fake presence. They don't want to convince anyone to stay, but they dream of finding someone who already wants to stay. With their eyes closed, their heart open and without a script in mind. Maybe you are one of those chosen ones, and maybe you are tired, exhausted of waiting for someone who just doesn't play with your feelings. And I understand you, because I'm also tired of trying to fit into shallow loves. If this resonated with you, then maybe this video is more than content. Maybe it's a mirror, and maybe, just maybe, you're one step closer to remembering who you are. If you've ever felt tired of chasing after someone who doesn't value your heart, if you've ever found yourself doubting your worth because someone forgot to look you in the eyes, then I want to invite you to truly be a part of this space. Here, we don't talk about games or empty strategies. Here, we share real, vulnerable stories of those who decided to take a deep breath and love with an open heart. If this resonates with you, subscribe to the channel now. Click the red button and join our community of souls seeking depth. By registering, you guarantee a place where there are no easy promises, but reflections that transform. There are no magic formulas, but experiences that touch the heart. There is no superficiality, but real encounters. Turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos, because each story here was created to remind you of your worth, your strength, and your ability to love without fear. If you want to experience more authentic relationships, build deeper connections, and learn to say, I deserve it with complete confidence, sign up now. Come be part of the chosen ones who will not settle for less than genuine love. I am waiting for you on the other side, with an open heart and ready to walk together. There was a time when I thought the problem was with me. In truth, I wondered why it seemed so difficult to experience a complete love, while everyone around me seemed so happy with these superficial connections, these games of interest, this whatever disguised as freedom. I still remember one specific night. It was winter. It was cold, but it wasn't the cold of the weather that hurt the most. It was the other one, the cold of absence, of waiting. I was sitting on the living room floor with a warm cup of tea in one hand, my cell phone in the other, and that emptiness in my chest. He had sent a message, simple, sincere, one of those that shows that we miss someone. And of course, it was viewed and ignored. I stood there trying to understand, trying to rationalize the other person's silence. Maybe he's busy, maybe he doesn't know what to say, maybe I said too much, but deep down, I knew it was just another attempt to fit in where I should never be, to diminish myself to fit into the emotional rush of someone who didn't know how or didn't want to dive in. I was breaking myself into small pieces, trying to be light, trying to be calm, trying to be indifferent, just so as not to seem too intense. But inside, it was exactly that pent-up intensity, swallowed feelings, a desire to be whole, and a fear of being rejected for it. The worst loneliness there is not being alone. It is being with someone who makes you feel invisible. And there, on that cold floor, between a notification that didn't come and a deafening silence, I realized maybe the problem wasn't how much I felt, but how much I insisted on giving depth to someone who only knew how to play shallow. After that night, something started to change. Not in an explosive way, but like everything that is true. Silently, little by little, inside, I started to observe myself more fondly. I reviewed old conversations, words I swallowed, limits I should have set, silences that I accepted, hoping that the other would guess my pain. It was hard, because when you have a sensitive heart, it's easy to believe that loving means sacrificing yourself. That feeling too much means exaggerating. That wanting depth is asking too much. But there, in the process of getting back together, I started noticing little things. I realized, for example, that being emotionally available is a gift, not a weakness. That knowing how to listen, to care, these are superpowers in a world that is always distracted. That stopping chasing after those who don't see your value is not pride. It's self-love. Little by little, I began to move away from the need to prove myself. I started saying no more calmly, to withdraw from conversations that diminished me, respecting other people's time, without abandoning my own. And do you know what happened? I started attracting different people. People who listened with their hearts, who looked into your eyes without fear, who was also tired of games. They weren't perfect loves, but they were gifts, real, without masks. And for the first time, I understood what I was looking for in others was, in fact, what I needed to offer myself first. Depth is not something that is demanded. It is something that is cultivated from the inside out. It was in this process, between silent new beginnings and small choices, that a truth passed through me like a calm ray of light, the kind that doesn't scare, but illuminates everything around it. Maybe the love we seek so hard isn't in someone. Maybe it's in the kind of presence we decide to be in the world. You see, we spend so much time trying to find the right one, the right person, the right relationship, the right answer, but no one teaches us how to be the right one, how to sustain our essence even when the other person leaves, how to keep our hearts open even after all the doors have closed. And then, without realizing it, we begin to build our lives based on what is missing. We think that happiness comes when someone else comes along. But what if true freedom is realizing that no one has to come along for you to feel complete? This doesn't mean you have to close yourself off or isolate yourself. Quite the opposite. It means you stop chasing love and start walking with it. It means you stop being someone who seeks acceptance and become someone who already accepts themselves and, therefore, attracts true connections. Have you ever noticed how deep love doesn't scream? It does not beg. It does not force. It does not bargain. Deep love waits, not out of passivity, but out of wisdom. He knows that what is true does not need manipulation, testing, or purposeful absence to generate longing. Deep love does not play games, because he doesn't need to win anything. He just wants to exist. That's why the chosen ones always seem out of place. They don't understand how someone can like them and still disappear. They don't know how to deal with promises that fall apart in 24 hours. They can't pretend to be disinterested to attract someone. But you know what they know? They know that a soul connection is rarer than any aesthetic standard. That a conversation where you can breathe in peace, without fear of getting the tone or timing wrong, is worth more than 1,000 matches. They know that being with someone who truly gives their all is like coming home after years in the dark. And the big idea that freed me was this. Maybe you're not being too intense. Maybe you're just surrounded by people who haven't learned how to dive yet. And then you have to choose. Either you drown trying to be shallow like everyone else, or you allow yourself to be the ocean and hope to find someone who has the breath to swim with you. Trust me, when you stop trying to fit into shapes that aren't your size, something changes. Relationships change. What you tolerate changes. What you attract changes. And love, this deep love that seems so distant, begins to make sense. Not as a fairy tale, but as a reunion, as a reflection, because the person you were hoping would come to your rescue might have been you all along. Today, looking back, I no longer blame myself for the times I insisted too much, for the messages that shouldn't have been sent, for the promises I believed with my eyes closed, for the voids I tried to fill with presences that only knew how to be absent. I don't blame myself, because I understood that all of this was part of my process of remembering who I was. Every disappointment taught me to listen more deeply. Every silence I received made me value my own voice more. Every absence showed me that I needed above all, to be present for myself. It's easy to talk about self-love when we're feeling good, but it really comes to you on the days when no one else comes. On the days when you cry in secret, but still choose not to abandon yourself. Because loving yourself isn't about thinking you're perfect. It's about continuing to choose yourself, even when everything around you tries to convince you otherwise. Today, I am someone who still feels a lot. I still get emotional easily. I still get attached. I still dream of a connection that feels like a hug even from a distance. But now, I no longer chase after people who don't know the value of finding someone like that. I understood that deep love is not asked for. It is offered, and it is shared with those who also know how to honor this type of surrender. And look, maybe you're listening to all this and thinking, but I'm still in the middle of the storm. I still feel lost. And that's okay. We don't need to be cured to be whole. We don't need to be ready to start over. What matters is the daily choice to not give up on what makes your heart vibrate. There are people who will try to make you believe that you are wrong for wanting depth, that it is neediness, that it is drama, that it is exaggeration. But let me tell you something, from the bottom of my heart, feeling deeply is a gift. Caring is a miracle. Wanting true love in a world that has trivialized everything is an act of courage. So don't be silent. Don't close yourself off. Don't hide. If you still believe in the kind of love that looks you in the eyes, that talks until late, that laughs together and also cries together, then you are rare. You are one of the chosen ones. And the chosen ones have a mission. It is not to convince anyone to love as you love. It is to be this love, whole, without games, without disguises, even if, for a while, it means walking alone. Because the path of the deep is indeed more silent. But up ahead, it is the path that leads to the truest encounters. And when that meeting happens, and you will understand why you had to wait so long. You will look at someone and see in their eyes the same tiredness of games, the same thirst for truth, the same courage to love without a script. And then, finally, two hearts tired of hiding will be able to rest in each other, not out of necessity, but by choice, and everything will make sense. If you've come this far, it's because something inside you has recognized this truth. Maybe it hurt a little to remember. Maybe it was like opening an old wound. But at the same time, it might have been a relief to realize that you are not alone. This channel is just that. A space for those who feel too much, for those who no longer want to pretend, for those who are tired of living on the surface. If any word here really resonated with you, if it resonated within your heart, I invite you, with all my affection, to subscribe to the channel. Not just to watch the videos, but to be part of a community of people who think and feel like you. Here, we share pain, new beginnings, learning experiences, and that stubborn desire to believe in love, even when everything seems to scream otherwise. Leave a like if this made sense. Comment on what touched you, your story matters. And remember, you're not wrong for wanting more. You're just remembering who you always were. Someone made to truly love. And that is your strength. See you in the next video. Until then, take care of your heart. It is sacred, and it will still find someone who knows how to live in it.